You are listening to the Hiking Radio Network, where we talk the walk with shows by hikers, about hikers, for everybody.
Mighty Blue on the Appalachian Trail, the ultimate midlife crisis. Join Steve and his guests every week as he staggers from Georgia to Maine.
Hi, and welcome back again to Mighty Blue on the Appalachian Trail, the ultimate midlife crisis. Yep, I know it's been a while, and yep, I know it's 2 more shows. But frankly, so much has been happening, and well, you just need to hear all about it. There are 7 days to report on. I'm doing 3 this first show, and tomorrow I'll be releasing another show with the other 4 days to catch up. I'll tell you now, spoiler alert, we are at mile 2020. So we are really getting on with it, getting on with the program. So let's start off with what happened on day number 161. Day number 161, Grafton Notch, mile 124.8 to a stealth site just before Surplus Pond Road, mile 1937, a 12.2 mile day. What a great day this was. I'm still not fully better, but much better if you know what I mean. I think if I'd hung around just trying another day or two, I probably would have got better. But you can't hang around here forever, so I thought I'd just get on with it. And I recall Baldpates Mountain from before, but even my memories did not do it justice. It was so much better than I remembered. First of all, you huff and puff up Baldpates West Peak. It's mainly tree-covered summit, but if you carry on down from the summit, you suddenly open up these great views of East Peak. And Trigger and I just hung around them, taking photographs of each other, and basically to recall where we were. It was a beautiful day, and we headed down, and in the gap between the 2 peaks, there's an alpine bog with timber boards to cross. And I sunk my sticks in a few times, but I love these timber boards are quite dangerous in the rain, but when it's not raining, it's fine. Then you climb up again, and you're on a much, much more open granite mountain with cairns leading you forward to the top. And these cairns they give you direction in New Hampshire. I find that they give you direction, obviously, where you're going. But we did notice that in New Hampshire, which we loved, the signage was terrible. There weren't so many cairns, and you could easily get lost in New Hampshire. And there was a long, long time between white blazes. I mean, the path might very well be obvious, but it wasn't to us quite often, actually. So we got to the top of this open granite mountain, and you're being pulled forward by these cairns because the mountain is so open and so big and just vast. And we actually, I remember from 2014, Trillium taking a photograph of some of us, was sitting on a rock with a little depression in the granite which was filled with water, and the picture was of us, and then our reflection in the sort of depression with the water. And believe it or not, we found exactly the same place, and we took some more pictures of that. There was a pretty hairy down from the top to Fry Notch lean-to, and lean-to is what they call shelters in Maine, actually. And we bumped into a husband and wife pair of flip-floppers. Her name was Yukon. I can't quite remember his name. We've actually seen them a few times since then as well. And this was the best shelter water supply we've had. Some of these water supplies aren't great, but this was beautiful. There's another little climb up before a 1,600-foot descent over about 3 miles to the bottom, where there's some waterfalls, and Unicorn and her husband had set up camp by the waterfall. We'd been looking on gut hooks and found there were a couple of stealth sites, and we eventually came to this pond, which I believe is called Surplus Pond, and we found these stealth sites just back from the trail, and really good position. There was a fire ring as well, which we didn't actually use. It says there was water 100 yards along the dirt road, so we went up this dirt road, couldn't find it at first, and we were just walking back to our shelter thinking we're going to have to get some water out of the pond, when I thought, when I reread what they said on gut hooks, it said you should walk back about 30 feet or 30 yards up the stream, and there was a black pipe with the water coming out. So it was beautiful, really. So we found it eventually. And that night, actually, I settled in and decided to record the last episode that I put out, which was about a week ago now, next to that pond, surplus pond. And do you know what? We were there. We got there about 4:30, something like that. We never saw anybody else that later that afternoon or evening. And I know there is a bubble, but we're not in it right now. But that was the end of day number 161. Day number 162, a stealth site just before Surplus Pond Road, mile 1937, to South Arm Road, mile 1945.2, just an 8.2 mile day. This was a very unambitious day, and I know Trigger doesn't really like those. He likes us getting as many miles as we want, but we knew in 2 days we had to get 20 miles to Andover to resupply. And having done 12 miles the previous day, there were just 8 to go, so there was nothing we could do about it. And as always, the low target just dragged us down. I don't know what it is. And this has happened so many times where when we've got a 15, 16 mile day, we get to it. We've got a 7 or 8 mile day. Then we drag our feet. I don't know why it is, but it does seem to drag us down. We don't do terribly well with those smaller targets. But as I say, there was really no choice. And almost immediately we crossed the Surplus Pond Road, where just near where we camped the night before. It was a 1,000-foot climb over Wyman Mountain, no views at all. Then we had a lunch at the Hall Mountain lean-to, and then a very steep descent and straight up Moody Mountain. So it wasn't really terribly exciting. These days, I think you need to have a target, and you need to have something in your mind that is something you're really looking forward to seeing. And we had neither of those. We knew we were going to go to Andover, so really it wasn't terribly exciting for us. We knew we were going to go into the town. We didn't actually know where we were going to stay by then. And we got to South Arm Road. Neither of us had any service at all. So we thought to ourselves, well, we'll have to hitch a lift. Well, that's all very well and good when there's cars going by. But there were no cars going by. And Trigger decided to walk up the road to see if he could get some service on his phone. And as he was walking up, we heard a car approaching, the first one we seen. A guy came down with his truck and a boat attached to his truck, and pulled over straight away, which is great. And he got out. He said, "You got any weapons?" And which was slightly unnerving. I said, "No." He said, "Because I have." I think he was joking. I'm not sure he was. I'm not entirely sure he was, but you never know, do you? Anyway, he took us into Andover. Funny little town, very, very quiet. When I came through in 2014, I stayed with Honey and Bear at the cabin. And I wasn't going to do that. Bear's gone now, and I felt it'd be nice to go somewhere else. And so we decided to see where we were going to stay. But first off, we decided to hoover up as much food as possible in the Little Red Hen, which was still open, and thoroughly enjoyable. Went in there, had plenty of food, and sat actually with the couple who'd given us a lift, which was rather nice. And Trigger had a bit of a Jones-in for this geodesic dome owned by a guy called Yukon, who's a former thru hiker. It was a bit out of town, but it was quite interesting to see, and we said, yeah, we'll go for that. And this guy, and I'm actually going to have him on tomorrow's episode, as it were, on when I talk about tomorrow. This guy Yukon, he hiked the trail previously, and he wants to give back to the community, and he's done this amazing, truly amazing building. But I'll get him to describe it to you. But basically, it's a place for hikers in this dome, and tons of space, really comfortable place, and I highly recommend it to anybody. But really, it was a quiet day. We didn't do much, and we got just at 8.2 miles. So that's the end of day number 162. Day number 163, South Arm Road, mile 1945.2, to Main Route 17, mile 1958.5, a 13-mile day. The dome, I decided to stay in a private room. I don't particularly like other people snoring, but even less. I don't like the thought of me snoring and waking other people up. So there was a private room on offer, and I took it, and it was incredibly comfortable. I lay down in my bed fully clothed. Next thing I knew, it was about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was still fully clothed with no blankets or anything over me. I was totally comfortable, so I went back to sleep again. In the morning, Yukon was getting breakfast ready. He does these blueberry pancakes. Oh, they're so tasty, I'll tell you. And he just had a couple of moments. So I said, "Can I record you? Because I'd love you to tell my listeners about the place." So listen to Yukon. Right, I'm outside here in this geodesic dome, and he's going to tell you about that in a minute, with Ryan Holt or Yukon.
Yukon, yes. Yukon Cornelius.
Who is?
Yukon Cornelius. He's the old prospector looking for gold in the claymation series of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer back in the 70s.
Right. Cultural reference, another cultural reference.
Yeah, he's got a big red beard. That's all we need to know.
All right. Now, I've come here to Andover, and when I came to Andover last time, I stayed at the cabin with Honey and Bear's sadly gone. So I was looking for somewhere new this time, and we found this. So tell us about what this is all about. I know you've done this trail before, haven't you?
Yes, I thru-hiked in 2012 after serving 8 years in the Infantry and Marine Corps, and the trail absolutely saved my life, in a way. So the only question after my thru-hike was, how do I maintain these levels of freedom, happiness, and peace that I've newly discovered?
Right.
And my answer was to buy 42 acres and build a custom hostel for Appalachian Trail thru-hikers.
That's normally everybody's answer, isn't it? 42 acres, yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot of people's dream, but I knew I had the capabilities. I knew I had I was a smart financially smart Marine, and I knew I could pull this together based on what I was thinking and the resources I had.
So you bought this 42 acres. We're standing outside on the deck at the back where there's the grill. There's also 2 open-air showers, which are awesome, by the way.
Right.
And you can't see it right now, but you told us there's about 20 miles of trail you can see from the deck here.
Yep. Last year I cleared 3 acres of trees off the dome center. And now
is that down where we're looking now?
Right here. Yep. Yeah. Looking right off the dome center. I've cleared these 3 acres to build on and expand on, but it also gave me this epic view. It all faces west. The sun sets right over the mountains, and my view just happens to be a 20-mile ridgeline section of the AT from Grafton Notch, Baldpates, and going north to Eastby Hill and South Arm Road.
Yeah,
so
I tell you, Baldpates was one of my favorite places so far. It's just
wonderful.
Gorgeous up there, isn't it?
Now you can take a shower and look right at it and wash off all the sweat you got while you hiked it.
Yeah, that was kind of cool. So this geodesic dome, what does it mean?
Yeah. Well, geodesic means creating a sphere out of straight lines. So that involves a lot of straight lines and triangles to create a sphere.
Right.
And it's one of the strongest, or the strongest structure you can build for wind load, snow load, and all the weight is completely evenly distributed throughout the entire structure itself.
And tell us what you provide here, because this is pretty much a full service thing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I wanted. I wanted an all-inclusive. I know what hikers want. They're very simple. It's easy to make them happy.
Wow. Fair. Yeah.
Wow. They're simple. They need a hot shower. They need a hot meal. They need laundry done. And anything that you can do more than that's a bonus. And really, it's the little things, in life, and that's what I'm bringing here. So an all-inclusive experience. If I was a multi-millionaire, I would do this service for free.
Really?
So I'm just trying to, I set it at a price and for an experience that's really priceless. So I'm just trying to keep this thing going. And my intention is not to make money here. My intention is to live free, happy, and peaceful, as I found on the Appalachian Trail.
So where do you see this developing? You say you've cleared the land in front. Are you going to add different private cabins, or what are you going to do?
Oh yes, my vision now is this place being a full geodesic dome, sort of village. Eco-village dome hostel.
Wow.
So the giant lodge dome that we're in now, where everyone sleeps, eventually will be the check-in lodge communal space.
Right.
And then private geodesic dome pods throughout this land here in front of me. Maybe a separate bunk room and a lot of other stuff.
You've got a free workforce, haven't you?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Outdoor kitchen, outdoor this, that. I mean, this is going to be a whole off-grid eco-dome village.
So obviously hiking the AT is somewhat seasonal. What are you going to do? What does this do the rest of the year?
Yeah, so 4 months out of the year, it's Appalachian Trail hikers only. I don't open to vehicles and section hikers. If they've got a backpack and they're on my shuttle, everybody's welcome. But June through October 1st, AT hikers only. And then the rest of the year, it's pretty much on Airbnb, available for.
Oh, really?
Yeah, available for groups only, up to 16 people can rent the entire structure, the entire building, until I get these smaller geodesic dome private bedroom pods up. Those will be for rent separately as well.
Sure.
But right now in the wintertime, the entire building can be rented out on Airbnb.
So just for a second, then you could step back to what you said earlier on. You did the 18 2012.
Yeah.
What did it actually do for you? I mean, you needed it, you said, after you got out of the service. What did it do for you?
Well, I planned my hike three years before I got out of the Marine Corps. You know, I served in Afghanistan and Iraq, two deployments to Iraq, all on the front lines early on in the war. It was a very different lifetime, very different reality. And going to the Appalachian Trail allowed me to let go of a lot of that stuff and surrender those things that no longer would serve me a greater purpose as I move forward in this life.
And I don't want to open old wounds, but I'm going to ask the question. When a lot of us finish, even me, who's never seen any combat at all,
sure,
and hopefully never will, I got depressed.
Yeah.
So when you finished, how did you cope with it? Did you make this your goal? Because I think one of the things people need to do is have a project straight away to do.
Right. Yes. Yeah. I knew I had to keep busy. I knew I had to keep moving forward as I finished with the Appalachian Trail. But getting out of the Marine Corps after 8 years, I didn't really get to transition. The Appalachian Trail was my transitional period and experience. So my trail felt like 8 years and 6 months. And then coming out of the mountains, finishing the trail, I dealt with some depression after that, for sure. A full sense of loneliness and people that couldn't understand me. No one could understand me. I was all by myself.
Sure.
And I just had to keep moving. I had to keep traveling, kept hiking my hike, getting some education.
The worst growing that bloody beard.
Oh, yeah, kept growing the beard.
I'm going to take a picture. You got to see this beard, I tell you.
I guess the worst thing you could do is sit after the trail is sit around and get stagnant and get stale. Let's try to maintain the experience you just had by doing some good with it, whether it's continuing to travel or sharing that story or doing something for the community.
I'll tell you what, man, this is a beautiful place, and it immediately goes to the top of my list of the hostels, I think, because it's worked out for me, it's worked out for my friends, and everybody in there sitting around the communal breakfast table, which was just damn nice. And
I love watching that. I bet
you do.
I appreciate you saying that. It's like, I'm a very empathic person, so it's like every day when a new person walks in here and I see their eyes light up and they have these questions about how it got built, and they just really appreciate so much of what went into building this space.
I'm sure.
It's like reliving my dream every single day because I feel it from them on their excitement and their awe, and it's like the best Groundhog's Day you could possibly imagine with new people every single day.
I think it's great, and I really appreciate you taking the time out, because I know you're busy in the mornings to talk to us. Thanks a lot.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Cheers. That really is an impressive place, and he knows what he's doing, this guy. I really think that you should give Yukon's place a chance. It is such a good spot. And I got to tell you, the idea of skiing on the mountain there, because it's on the side of a mountain, and because he did tell me later there is actually some skiing there as well, taking over the whole place for about 15 people, I think that would be a great way to spend 4 or 5 days. Anyway, one of Yukon's guys took us back to South Arm Road, and I was already looking forward to Rangeley. Just as a bit of background, I stayed at Rangeley in 2014, and I met a couple called Shane and Stacey. They owned the farmhouse, and I was really disappointed when I saw the farmhouse didn't exist anymore. Well, not as a hostel, so I didn't really pay much attention to it. But Trigger had seen this place called Fieldstone Cottages, which seemed to be a new place. Turns out it was owned by Shane and Stacey. So he'd booked it for Thursday night. But as he'd booked it for then, I started thinking about slack packing. We had Tiba with us in 2014, and she did all our slack packing. And it really worked out for us. So I mean, Trigger's not a great one for doing that sort of stuff, so I thought I'd work it out myself. And I started thinking about slack packing. I knew Shane and Stacey would be able to do it. And I remember we were passed from Rangeley to Stratton. And it turns out they now own the Stratton Motel as well. So I knew some slack packing was in our immediate future. And frankly, this being western or southern Maine, we wanted a slack pack over some of these tough mountains. They're tough enough as it is, and we're getting tired. So it seemed a good idea to try to do a bit of slack packing. So we'd already been booked in for the Thursday night, but now we were booked in for this Wednesday night as well as part of the slack packing plan. The idea was we were going to go, obviously we were going to get to main route 17, and then Shane and Stacey would really tell us basically how we were going to be able to work this out to get ourselves further down the line. But so we'll go through it bit by bit, but it does involve 2 southern SOBO journeys as well. So we had a very steep start up Old Blue Mountain, and we were soon gasping for breath on this morning. I now feel better and able to cope with these climbs, but really they still get your old breathing going and your sweat glands exercised. The rest of the day was less strenuous, and we were just hoping to avoid the threatened rain. We've been incredibly lucky with the rain. We were talking about this earlier on today, actually. Whenever it's going to rain, we look at the forecast and it says, say, rain expected at 2:30 p.m. Well, 2:30 p.m. it doesn't come. You check the forecast again, it says rain expected at 3:30 p.m. It keeps pushing back for some reason. We were just hoping to avoid it. And we told Stacey's son, Seth, who was going to pick us up, that we would be at, where is it? Let me have a look. Main Route 17 at about 4:45. We got there about 20 to 5, which wasn't bad. And I always remember back in 2014, old Bear from the cabin, he said, how fast do you think you guys walk? And I said, about 2 miles an hour, something like that. He said, I'm not sure about that. And he knew where he was. He said, I think you'll be done and you'll be at Main Route 17 by about 5 o'clock. We got there at 4:59 and we saw Bear just grinning away, so pleased that he'd been right and he'd timed it so perfectly. And in this case, we got there just before Seth, and it worked out really, really nicely for us. So and Seth is Shane and Stacey's son. So he took us to Fieldstone Cottages and we loved it. What they've done, they live in this converted garage actually, and they built these beautiful cabins. And it's very industrial. There's a great shower with corrugated iron walls. The best shower we have been in. We've had anywhere, I think, since Georgia. In fact, on the whole trip, definitely on the whole trip. And I had the bed because it was a double bed and a settee which turned into a bed. And Trigger volunteered to take the settee because he hadn't told me there was just one bed. There's no way I'm sleeping with Trigger, I tell you. But we loved it there. Now the floor is, it's vinyl, but it looks really good, and we just like the place. And I highly recommend it for anybody who wants to stay there. It's got a fridge, it's got a coffee maker, it's clean, all those good things. So we went down to a place called Sarge's in town and thoroughly enjoyed that, and that was the end of day number 163. So we're in Rangeley and start of our slack packing opportunities, as my friend Pat or T-Bird used to call them. We haven't done a great deal of slack packing recently, but this really is the plan. The plan here is to try to get us through the more tricky mountains in Maine and make it easier for us. We're tired and we are pretty much done, and we're ready for this to be over. I mean, I'm loving it. I'm really enjoying it. I feel really, really strong and fit. But at the end of every day, I'm pretty much spent. And so getting the chance to do this slack packing with people I really respect and admire, Shane and Stacey, I think it's I think it's a good thing for us. So come back again tomorrow to hear the rest of the story of how we slack packed our way to 20 miles. I'll see you next time.